Good morning, my friends. I want to talk today about something that I haven't really addressed on here, which is body image and disordered eating behaviors, either as part of limbic impairment recovery or separately from that if you come across this video just, from your YouTube page. So I want to give some very different advice and a different perspective than what I've typically seen with this. I will say I come from a background of a lifelong eating disorder, body dysmorphia, and body image issues started when I was born, pretty much. Have video and photographic evidence of it my whole life. So I started working on this probably about half my lifetime ago, really actively working on healing this. I've taken a course on it and successfully healed it myself. So this is coming from all of that experience and knowledge. So where these things originate, where disordered eating and body image issues originate is in your attachment patterns with your parents or your caregivers. And really attachment, healthy attachment, secure attachment, if you have emotionally stable, emotionally attuned and available parents who will meet your need for regulation when you're a baby, when you're crying, when you're a toddler and you need help learning how to manage and manage your emotions and learn how to navigate the world, that you have someone whose primary priority with you is to connect and attune to you and meet the true need that you have, not just be concerned with the surface level things or trying to control. A lot of parenting advice and philosophy that's from before 20, 30 years ago, and even some now, is very focused on controlling instead of attuning and meeting needs and creating containment and boundaries and safety. So if we don't have that, we don't have safety created by connection. Connection and healthy attachment are what create a sense of safety inside the human person. And if we don't have that, we will try to find a counterfeit version through control, or we will try to comfort ourselves from the pain of never feeling met, never feeling loved, and never feeling safe with binging or other numbing types of behaviors. Or even a lot of disordered eating can either be control based. It's also just whether you're restricting or overindulging or binging, and whether it's exercise or food or what your patterns are. This is just an umbrella for everything. It comes down to trying to numb things out, numb out the pain of feeling unworthy. Sometimes we try to fix ourselves with excessive exercise and diet because we feel that we just weren't worthy or weren't good enough to receive the love from our parents, when in reality they probably didn't have what they needed to be able to give you what you needed. So that's where all this starts from, just a preliminary. And that's the three pieces of advice I'm going to give you today are based on this understanding that the foundational crack with eating disorders is not in our relationship to food. It's in our sense of secure attachment to ourselves, or at this point as an adult to yourself. And it originated from our attachment wounds as children. It has nothing to do with food, body, exercise, health, any of that. It has everything to do with feeling safe. So the first one is to, every time you indulge in or find yourself in a disordered eating pattern or a body image pattern, body checking, binging, purging, over-exercising, chewing and spitting, whatever it is, doesn't matter. The first thing to do is not to perpetuate this pattern of ruptured connection with yourself that started when you were an infant or child, of going into this state of disapproval of self. Most of the time, this might not be everyone, but most of the time, we go into a self-punishment state when we've gone through a behavior. There's a period of self-loathing that follows it, where we're mimicking this ruptured pattern that we had in childhood. And the key to reversing it is to love yourself unconditionally and choose to stay connected and attuned. And as soon as whatever it was is over, taking some time to say, hey, self, address yourself by name, if that's at all comfortable. I still love you. You have my unconditional approval. I understand that this pattern is not your fault and it's really uncomfortable and I don't like this. And I also recognize now that punishing myself is not going to fix it. That you need my love. You need my approval. You need to know that I'm here for you no matter what you do or don't do. I love you. And picking yourself up, brushing yourself off, and forgetting that it happened as best you can and carrying forward with your life in the most normal, self-loving way you can. It's not going to be perfect from the beginning. This is a very difficult pattern to change at first. That's where we start, though, is in not perpetuating that pattern of self-abandonment from our abandonment and attachment wounds. Sometimes there can be, if that's not the case, if we're not coming from a place of, if the self-loathing isn't it, and we're just kind of truly carried away by the pattern, sometimes coming from a place of seeking to recognize what emotional needs need to be met so that we aren't engaging in the behavior can be a more helpful place to begin. But self-approval that's unconditional and seeing these behaviors and experiences as a sign that you need love and emotional needs met, whether that's for tenderness or boundaries. Usually there's a genuine need for something positive, not just a boundary that's at the root of this. That sometimes is a helpful place to start, but come back to that understanding instead of thinking it's about just trying to fix something. The second thing you can do, and this goes back, all of these go back to reparenting and treating yourself the way you needed to and deserved to be treated when you were a wee one, when you were a baby and a child. The second one is learning to identify who you are with your authentic experience of yourself instead of your appearance. This is a big one. So the feeling you have when you're feeling most authentic, most joyful, happy, laughing, carefree, connected. Start to tune into how it feels when you're really happy, or when you're really calm, or when you feel connected, or when you're laughing, and the joy and the vibrancy and the presence you feel with yourself in your body in that moment. That's you. You are not your body. You're not any part of your body. You're not your face. You're not your body. And you might need to take it. I recommend for folks taking a break from mirrors for a period of time as a way to help yourself shift your center of self from appearance to your inner self and your experience of your inner self. It can help if we're not looking at mirrors all the time, as long as you need to. A week, a year, 2 weeks, a few months, just as long as it's helpful to you. Fasting from mirrors can just be a massive relief from that. And it allows us, again, to just allow the old pattern of associating ourselves with our appearance to fade away while we plant this new seed of identifying with our inner self and our experience of that somatically. The last thing is to treat yourself the way you would, to treat your body with kindness and take good care of it, very much the way a parent would with their infant or toddler, where you base your hygiene habits, the clothes that you wear, the way that just any and all ways you take care of yourself in a loving way, adding a loving tenderness. If you have a pet or if you've been around kids, imagine the way you would wash your dog if your dog needed to get bathed, that you would, be firm, but you'd use a loving touch. You'd be gentle. So just taking the time to really set the intention to do your basic self-care things like hygiene, getting dressed, doing your laundry, even just anything from the way you do makeup, if you wear makeup, or the way you eat, if that's comfortable, the way you keep your home, your environment, keeping your sensory environment positive and your body clean and comfortable in clothing that feels good to you to wear. It does not matter what that is. If you need to hide in a sweatshirt, hide in a sweatshirt. It's okay. You don't need to try to force a felt sense of safety you don't have yet. It's okay to use clothes to hide if you need to, but just dress in a way that you're comfortable with, genuinely. You don't have anybody to impress. And that mimics as children, as infants and children. That's what our parents would, a loving parent would do, is make sure that their baby is clean and comfortable as much as possible in every way at all times, as much as possible, right? And treating your body in a loving way, in this more relational, physical, tangible way, sends a signal, especially with a loving attitude toward yourself, because your body's your home and you're experiencing those things sensorially, like your clothing and your hygiene, all of that. Giving yourself that positive experience says quite loudly to your primal brain and nervous system that you are loved and you are cared for. And again, the goal here is to create a loving relationship with yourself as who you are and not what you look like. This goes back again to infancy and parenthood, where when a baby is born to a family, the caregivers will see that baby as the person they are. A lot of parents don't know what gender baby's going to be before they're born. They start out as funny little wrinkly alien looking things. I've had 5 kids. I would know they're adorable wrinkly little aliens when they're born, not very beautiful to look at a lot of times right away. And they change very quickly, and they poop everywhere. And it's like, we don't love them because of what they do or how they look. And we don't see them as how they look, because it's so dramatic from infancy to, and now my oldest daughter's almost 14. It's like wild to watch a person change that much over time. And that unconditionality of that love for the person within is what we're working to mimic with these behaviors to establish that sense of loving, unconditional care and attunement and attention. And there's, of course, way more that needs to be done in the bigger picture in order to fully resolve a in-depth ingrained eating disorder or body image or body dysmorphia issues. But these are some good places to start to reverse the original patterns that created it. And then there's, obviously plenty more that needs to be done and can be done beyond this. But even these little things, implementing them regularly, will help you to feel more emotionally stable and give you a bit of freedom from what can sometimes be the unending torture chamber of having an ED or having severe body image issues. So sending all of you my love and a lot of courage and faith in you. If this is you, you can do this. And you are worth it. And you can be completely free of this. It does take time and it takes work, but it is so worth it. You can have a life that is entirely free, where you feel loved and beautiful and safe and good about yourself all the time. That's waiting for you. Love you guys.